So Patrick Henry has a quote that I find to be very reminiscent to Malcolm X's The Ballot or the Bullet. And the quote goes as stated, "Give me liberty or give me death." And the reason why I feel that it is very reminiscent to Malcolm X's The Ballot or the Bullet is because, if you listen to this 53 long minute speech, there are a number of points that Malcolm X brings up. But in particular, he brings up the importance of a vote, and he brings up the importance of black people casting their ballots. And the reason why he figured that it is so important is because he noticed that politicians, the American Democrats and the American Republicans only came into our communities and wanted to speak with us when they needed our votes. That was one of the main points that he brought up, especially when he was discussing blacks depending on the American Democrat as our way up and our way out. And he did not feel like they were totally for us. He did not believe that we were using our discretion, and he felt black people were too trusting when it came to the American Democrat. And he felt we were too quick to cast our ballots and to vote Democrat because we were brainwashed into believing that they were for us. And he didn't believe that there was any white man or that they would totally be in for helping us. He felt that anything that they did was to oppress us, was to continue control, and to ensure that they stayed above us and made sure that we were officially oppressed. A South African theologist actually listened to this speech and, summarized it in their own words. And, they brought up a lot of points when they were summarizing this speech and saying that for a lot of things that's going on in modern life today with the Black Lives Matter movement and, the protesting against police brutality and the protesting against, the killing of young black men, and not even just, by police, but in our own community as well, that we undervalue Malcolm X's viewpoints. And although the speech is 53 minutes long, it is 53 minutes of very valid points of black nationalism and how we do not support our own, how we take from our own, and that we don't mind allowing whites to come into our communities and set up shop and give us stores and drugstores and liquor stores and make a profit off of us. And he felt that black nationalism was the black man and a black woman's way out of oppression, out of poverty, a way for us to gain an upper hand was to put back into our own communities. That was one of his main points that he has made in that speech. This speech is 53 minutes long, and although I have tried to cover the main points of his speech, which is, leaving out religion as a part of the argument, which is something else that the author touched bases on in their article, focusing on black nationalism, especially how it could be helpful for today's society. And that was the basis of their argument, or the basis of their article. When you read it, is basically stating how Malcolm X's speeches can be used as a platform for us today, and his teachings. And a lot of people feel like he was just violent and he was just this radicalist, and nobody ever took the time to really talk about his viewpoints and his teachings, and which can be very beneficial, especially in today's society, as I stated before, with the Black Lives Matter and amongst other protests that have been going on, kneeling for the national anthem, amongst other things. And just maybe taking some of his teachings and taking some of his viewpoints, and maybe not his radicalist ideas, maybe not going by the any means necessary, but he has points of where building up the black community was his main goal and his main priority. As I stated, I would not be able to cover every single point that he has made in 53 minutes and 5 minutes, but I feel like the points that I touched on were the basis of his arguments. And I do believe it is a great speech for a lot of people to go and talk about, even though it is very long. And it's amongst others, but Malcolm X, he needs to be talked about and, appreciated more as a part of our black history and our civil rights movement.